Let's share a story with you here. We all know in Canada our healthcare system is just it's broken. So, anyways, at work the other morning, the security guard is changing their shift, not on the same schedule as mine. I see a new face. I said, "Oh, I haven't seen you here before." So, what I'll refer to as the new guard, he's in the company of what I'll refer to as the old guard. The new guard says, I haven't been here before. I usually work at the hospital. I said, oh, at the hospital, like in the emergency room? Like, you guys there 24/7? He's like, oh, yeah. Yeah. The old guard says, oh, what's it like there? And the new guard goes, well, it's something else. I said, well, tell me a story. He goes, well, okay. Now we get into the story. He says, well, just the other night, in fact, he says, getting a little ahead of myself. I asked AI. I don't bother with Stats Canada anymore. Can't trust them since like 2021, if you know what I mean. So I just asked AI. I said, what's the average wait time in the emergency room in a Canadian hospital? And it replied, well, it varies from province to province and location to location. But statistics from November, 22 hours with just less than 23% being admitted in less than 8 hours. I don't know if that statistics, if you can take that as purely valid or not. I don't know. I know locally here, 7 to 12's what you're looking at. So anyways, the guard says, well, there's a guy in a wheelchair waiting in emergency, and he has a piece of lead in his leg. I better put it that way for the sake of whatever platforms this video might end up on. I think you can put two and two together, like how the lead got there, right? And so while he's waiting, one of the staff came up to the security and said, I do believe he's doing business over there. And the old guard and I are kind of looking at the new guard like, yeah? Well, he's vending without a license? Is that what you mean? He's like, yeah. He's selling the competitor brand of Pepsi. And I'm like, really? Like right there? Like it's like in the emergency room, like it's the street corner? And he's going, yeah, that's pretty much why we're there, the security and the emergency rooms, to all that substance stuff. We're like, okay, so what happens? The new guard goes, well, we didn't find anything on him, and the guy was totally chill, just like unconcerned. No, not concerned in the least, totally chill. But we look, and there's a sharps box there. That's where you put your used sharps into, right? Again, coaching my terms. So we look in there, and there's an entire case of Pepsi, like $30,000 worth. We're like, really? And he's like, yeah. And the guy's still totally chill. The old guard and I are like, really? He's still chill. Yeah. Until we said we were going to call the cops. The guy started losing his composure then. This is where the story gets good. He's like, you can't call the cops. The cops will confiscate that stuff. That's mine. I can't know. That's why the lead's in my leg. I didn't pay for the last one, and I got to make good with this one. I can't. No. Call the cops. No. They're like, yeah, we're going. We already have. So the cops came. They confiscated the case of Pepsi and charged the guy with vending without a license, I guess. I said, so, like, did the cops put him in custody? What happened? And he goes, oh, no, they took his cash. They took the case of Pepsi. But he's still in the hospital. They amputated his leg. And we're like, what, really? They amputated his leg? He goes, yeah, well, hey, I'm security. I'm not surgery. I don't know. But he was still there like yesterday when I was there. I'm like, so he's vending in the hospital, gets popped, loses his cash, his stash, and his leg, right? And the new guard's going, well, yeah, that sums it up pretty well. And the old guard and I are kind of looking at each other like, wow, eh? You know what? The old guard goes, Carl, if you took that in like there's a script for a movie or a TV show or something, they'd turn you away. They'd say, nobody's going to buy that story. That's unbelievable. So, well, yeah, but you could sell it as reality TV. So, anyways, we kind of, I mean, you got to laugh at these kind of stories, right? Sorry about the guy's leg and all, but wow. This is Canada today. Point of my story in part is really irks me when I see on social media someone who says, Canada isn't broken. Canada hasn't changed. Canada's just fine. Canada doesn't need fixed. There's Poilievre talking about it being broken. That's traitorous talk. Nothing's changed in the last 10 years. That's why I'm voting for Carney. I'm voting for change. Yeah, I know the dichotomy, right? But we are talking liberal logic here, if there is such a thing. But my point is, I wonder what's going to happen. Often, it seems to me, probably about 60-70% of the people I see on TikTok who's saying, nothing bad, nothing has changed in Canada. They seem to be, housewives of a grandmother's age. Nothing against the noble trade of being a housewife. Don't take me wrong. Perhaps the noblest of trades, if I may. But I wonder what I'll say the liberal voting granny would think if she was to walk into an emergency room in today's Canada. That's the point of the story.